All right, let me share my screen. Let me share my slides. Okay. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining this great event today. All day long we have great sessions, and thank you for attending my session today. So today I'm going to talk to you about this very special recipe that I've been cooking for quite some times now. Basically, it's about mixing some really nice tools, nice environment to be able to come up with to answer a business process that we all, I think, are familiar with or came across with. Somehow we all used a document approval system. So basically, the idea is to take a little bit of Teams, take a little bit of deep links, a little bit of Power Apps, little bit of PowerAutomate, some Flowbots, some SharePoint lists, mix them all together, make sure they communicate well with each other, and create like an example for a document approval system. Before we jump into the subject, just a quick introduction. My name is Ala Bitar. I'm an IT application architect. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. A couple of months ago, I joined a company called Castination here in Switzerland, in Bern. Basically, what we do is we create robots to do quality image guided surgeries. We do two types of surgeries: the quality ablation and the implant of audio devices behind the ear. Basically, I'm a SharePoint addict since 2007. And I've been working with this technology since, and with Office 365 and M365. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. I have also a YouTube channel called PowerApp. I have a blog, and most of the code that I produce, I put it in my GitHub. So, without further ado, let's deep into our subject today. So, as I was saying, the idea is to mix Teams, deep links, Power Apps, PowerAutomate, Flow, SharePoint lists to answer a business need. Today we are talking about document approval system. So mainly what I want the three main ideas that I want you to at the end of this hour to have a more clearer mind about is what are the challenges that we have in any document approval system, and how can we address them? How can we resolve them? And we know that every company, every business out there has its own way to deal with documents. So how can we make up something that at least will answer, I don't know, 95% of the of this business need at the end? It's also important to have like a unified user experience. You know, we don't want to build something that we tell our users to go to open, for example, a link, and to go to this platform, to open a link and to go to this other platform, and so on and so forth. You know, we really want to make our users like focus and stay in the same kind of user experience. And what I want you to understand also is that Teams is getting more and more bigger, and it's becoming like a real, not way beyond only a chat and a video conferencing system. Is that how can we interact Teams with the other Office 365 tools? How can we make this happen in an easy way? So basically, the agenda for today's session is we're going to talk document approval, how, the why and the how. Then we're going to have a look at the Office 365 tools that we have, in order to maybe take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and to come up with a solution. Then we will show our solution architecture. How can we make those little bit of this, little bit of that, communicate with each other in order to answer a specific business need or answer a specific business process. Then, of course, we're going to do a demo. And I'm sure everyone is just waiting for the demo, but let's just hang on with me. The demo will take a big part of the presentation. Then, if you have any questions, and hopefully I can answer them. So, document approval. Every company, I think, needs at some time a document approval. Every company produces documents. It can be user guides, it can be invoices, whatever. Every company produce content. So this content can be a Word document, an Excel, PowerPoint, whatever, you know. So every document have to follow an approval. So how can we show, how can we tell that a document has been properly validated? How can we, if we have, for example, a notified body or a regulatory company that comes and wants to, you know, see and have a proof of, well, we are working with this document. This document has followed a proper approbation flow. So we have to give like somehow some proof that our document went through a whole document approval from that stage to that stage. You know, it is not only just to, okay, I create a document, I send it by email to my manager. My manager replied, yes, it's good to go, and then that's it. No, we have to follow like a standard procedure. So we won't going to go deep in that field now, but just for you, so that everyone like realize that document approval is not like something like, okay, I want to approve a document, I send it, just give me a go, and that's it. For example, when you are working with a Word document, okay, so basically a Word document as it is super easy to be edited. So, you know, so maybe we have to look for another way of displaying or showing the Word or any Office document. Maybe we have to create a PDF out of it, even though it's not that it is just a PDF, and the PDF is just not. It's always we can always edit a PDF, but at the end we try to make as much as bulletproof our approval, so that it will be it will have like better validity of our document. And usually many environments are involved when we are doing document approval. We have to send by an email, and the email is received, and we have to log in some other environment to digitally sign a document, to generate the PDF out of it, and then to get, for example, get this PDF and then upload it to another environment. So usually it involves many different environments. But what we want to do is, if we remember, we want to unify our user experience. So the goal is now, in today's session, is as much as possible use the Teams environment with those different tools that we have to, as much as possible, keep our users really focused and in the same environment, so they can have like a better user experience. Now, what I want us to do is to think about the different Office 365 tools that we have in order to answer this business process. So keep in mind, we want to answer the document approval system, and we want to make it as much as possible a unified user experience. So documents, when we say documents, okay, we have the team, it's an interface, okay, to drop document, basically. I can log into team, I go to a channel, and then I can put some document. So maybe we can start from that, from here. We can log into Teams, put some documents. Then there is a tool functionality, if you want, called Deep Link. Deep Link, basically, we can see it like a shortcut. It's a shortcut that we can point that shortcut to a specific part in Teams. So it can be another channel, it can be a tab in a channel, it can be an application on the left side. It is just about creating a shortcut, and this shortcut we can use it to point to any whatever we want within the Teams interface. So if you think about it, Teams can put some documents, then I can somehow create a link that when I will click on this link, it will open a specific part in my Teams environment. So first, one of the challenges is to keep the unified user experience is still valid, because I'm keeping my users in the team environment. Basically, this is an example of a deep link. So when you are in Teams, you create a tab, whatever, or you take an existing tab. You have on the right side this copy link button. So this is what I've done. I've created a tab in a Teams channel, and I click on the copy link. And this is what somehow my link looks. So you see that it starts with teams.microsoft.com. It has a /identity, some very big UID, but then after that, after the question mark, we see that we have a variable, a parameter called context that has this sub-entity ID, channel ID, group ID, and tenant ID variable. And we can see that the sub-entity ID is null. So what if, when we use this link, whatever we put in this link, remember this link equals a tab in my Microsoft Teams. So what if we could leverage this this variable, this bunch of variables, but let's focus a bit more on the sub-entity parameter that is null, so that we can play with it. We can assign another value, and it won't affect the rest, because the channel ID, the group ID, and the tenant ID are specific to my environment. It's the ID of my channel, it's the tenant ID, the ID of my whole Office 365 tenant, so I cannot change it. But this sub-entity ID is null, so I can maybe affect it the value. And when whatever I put in this team tab, if I just could read this parameter, I can do stuff. Okay, so now we have Teams, we have a place to put some documents. We can create a link that will open a tab, and from that tab, we can somehow, we will try at least, and I'm sure we will succeed, to read this parameter from the URL. Okay, let's think again. Let's think a bit more. We have PowerApp, and we know, or at least now we know, that we can put PowerApp in a tab in a team channel. So what if we add a PowerApp? We have a team, we have a team, we have a channel, we have a tab, and inside this tab we put a PowerApp application. And a great functionality that we have in PowerApps is that we are able to read the query. So if we go back here, I know that this URL will open a tab that and this tab hosts my PowerApp application, and I see a bunch of URL parameters. So if we think about it, within our PowerApp, for example, in the onStart event or in the unvisible event of a screen, for example, we could read the sub-entity ID parameter and maybe do some things. So maybe we can, the idea of using a PowerApp is to trigger the business process. Remember, we want to trigger a document approval. So basically, if we think about it, we have teams, we have some documents, we can add a link to each document. When we click on it, it will open a Teams tab, which hosts a PowerApp application. This PowerApp application will read a parameter, sub-entity ID. For example, I can affect this sub-entity ID to the ID of the document that I want to approve. Within my application, I can read this ID, I can look it up and propose an interface for document approval. So let's say I can add some comments and then I can have a submit button and do some other things. So we are here now. We have Teams, we have documents, we have a link. We click on it, opens a tab. This tab, we send the document ID parameter in that tab. And my PowerApp is able to read the ID and to do something, you know, at that point. What our PowerApp can do is whatever we want. So why can't we leverage SharePoint lists? In a SharePoint list, we can store the different approval definition. We can monitor status. For example, we can have a SharePoint list to store the approvals, to trigger the approvals maybe. It's not really the SharePoint list that will trigger, but we can have a SharePoint list that will store the different information, the definition of the approval that I want to trigger. Also, I can monitor status with a SharePoint list. I can add a column for status and play with it, with the status, in order to be able to monitor the status. And also I can create, as an example, another SharePoint list to do some loggings. I know it's not the best way to do loggings and to use SharePoint list to do loggings, but here we are, you know, we are brainstorming how we can answer, answer this specific business need. We can use PowerAutomate. In PowerAutomate, we can have a workflow that is triggered when a SharePoint list item is modified. So if we sum up, just go back, we have Teams, put documents, we have a link, we click on it, opens a Teams tab with a special URL. We can leverage this sub-entity ID URL query parameter to able to read it from a PowerApp. From this PowerApp, I will be able to patch, to create an element in a SharePoint list, and then I can have a PowerAutomate workflow that is triggered whenever an item is created or modified in that SharePoint list. Hopefully, you are somehow a bit having a more clearer view about this whole document approval. One more thing that we can also leverage, because we really want to focus our user. We really want our user to stay in the same environment. So we triggered a workflow. The workflow has been triggered whenever I edit or modify, create a new element in a SharePoint list. But I don't want to send an email to a certain approver. Or we could, but our main goal is to really make our user experience fully focused in one environment, that is Teams. So instead of sending an email, we could leverage the Flowbot in Teams. So within the Flowbot, within PowerAutomate, for example, we can leverage this connector, the Flowbot Teams connector, that we will be able to send an adaptive card to our user. Basically, just just a quick note about adaptive cards. Adaptive card is just about a small form that we can define in order to and send it in an email, in a Teams message, in Teams flow bus. So basically, the adaptive card is just a small form that we can show to our user and we can get feedback from. Okay, so we can leverage this flowbot to send an adaptive card to our users, so they will receive like a chat. So they are still in Teams. There is someone, the flowbot will talk to them, will show them an adaptive card. So it's a small form, and then they can interact with it. Say, for example, they want to approve or reject a document, and they can submit. And from our PowerAutomate workflow, we can get this the answer, and then we can do we can continue our the progress. So if we somehow look at the very high level, of course, solution architecture that we have now. So we are here. We are the user. We are the collaborators. So we are first things that we are accessing team. Okay, we have a team environment and we have a document placeholder. Within that document placeholder, we have like a deep link that will open a PowerApp application. So just some rectification also that everyone is aware. I put the PowerApp here. It doesn't mean that it's hosted in Teams. It is just to display that it will be shown within the Teams application, but the PowerApp application is hosted somewhere else, not hosted in Teams, but is embedded in Teams. So from this document placeholder, we will have a deep link that will open a PowerApp application. From this PowerApp application, we will trigger the approval process by creating or modifying an element in an approval event list. This approval event list, when it's gonna get modified, it will trigger my approval workflow orchestrator that is in PowerAutomate. From PowerAutomate, we will read some parameters and so on and so forth, some settings maybe to see who is the approver of a document, insert some elements in the approval log SharePoint list, for example. And then we will leverage the flowbot to send a message, an adaptive card to the user, and then this flowbot gets the answer and then push it back to the approval workflow orchestrator. Or a better way to illustrate this 5 and 6 is that at 4, the approval workflow sends a message to the bot and waits for the answer. So at 6, we have the answer from the flowbot, if it is approved or rejected, and then the PowerAutomate workflow will update the event list, and then once the list is updated, it will re-trigger the approval workflow, and so on and so forth. So here, basically, the intelligence somehow in the approval workflow orchestrator is that it follows some status state machine somehow. It's based on the status of the item. It will do separate things. So I hope this is somehow clear for everyone, but don't worry if you feel that you don't completely understand, or there's some places that you not fully understand the whole process. Don't worry, because now it's the demo. So let me. No, it's okay. I'm already sharing my whole screen. So let me show you what everything put together. What do we have? So basically, we are in Teams. Okay, and we have, I'm inside of a channel called Document Approval Demo. I have one channel called General, and I have some files. Okay, earlier I created a document called New Document to Approve. It's basically a simple Word document that have only this simple text. Okay, what we created, is this first link. So this link is a deep link. So whenever I will click on this link, it will open. Let me just show it to you. So so what happened is when I clicked on the launch approval, it automatically opened for me my my tab called Document Approval within my my Teams application, and you see I have a drop-down list already filled with the name of the documents. So somehow I was able to transfer through this link the ID of the document that I want to approve. If we go back here, you see that this drop-down list is already have the document name already filled. Document name, the document name is already predefined. So I can now put some comments. So please. And I can hit the submit button. So I will hit the submit button, and then we will go a bit in details about the link and the submit button in order to see what's been going on, at least from till now. Okay, so I've clicked on the button, on the submit button, and I've been automatically redirected to the approval request, and I can see that I have a request called approval request by Alabitar for a new document to approve. I can see the approvers and the status and the date that is correct. So now what has been done is that the PowerApp created an element in a specific SharePoint list, and then we have this this PowerAutomate workflow that has been triggered, and it will do stuff. So while the workflow works, let's see how, at least from this to this, what has been done. So if we go back to the files, let's see first the deep link. So I just opened the files in SharePoint, and if we go and have a look at the approval column. So basically, I just already copy pasted, and this is it. So I formatted this column to show, okay, first the flow icon and the text launch approval, and what the value of the link is defined here. So if you remember what I've shown you earlier is that if I go to my Teams, if I go to document approval, what I've done is I clicked on the copy link to tab. And if we compare it here, it is basically the same, but it is this part is strictly the same. And what I have done is I have injected the ID of the current element and the number one just after it, and then the rest. So what I have done is I replaced this null value by the ID of the document, the current document that I've been clicking on, and I have added number one. If we go now to the so when I clicked launch approval, it opened the PowerApp tab in Teams with in what's called the subentity ID parameter equals to the ID of the document and number 1. Why I've done that? Because if we have a look now at the PowerApp application, if we go to the onStart, what I'm doing, I'm reading the parameter called subentity ID. Okay, what I'm doing is to be able to play a bit with this subentity ID, because sometimes I want to click on a link and to trigger the document approver. But as you can see, I have added another link called logs. So when I click on this logs button, I don't want to launch the approval here, but I want to go to the approval logs. So using 1 or 2, this is how I am playing with the mode of my PowerApp application that I want to display. So subentity ID, I'm reading the whole parameter that has been sent, and I'm taking the right side of this ID. If it's 1, then I know that I want to select the first tab. So this is to submit the document for approval. If it's 2, then I want to see the approval request. If it's 3, I want to see the approval log, and so on and so on. So this is basically my way of doing it. I'm sure that you will come up with many different other ways to do it. You can, for example, add between the ID and the number, you can add, I don't know, a separator, or whatever hashtag. I don't know. You probably would come up with a better way of handling it. But this is just for you guys to have an idea of how can we, within one single parameter, we can have some information, some dynamic information, and some another part of the information that is more static. For example, I'm adding 1 in order to trigger the approval. I'm adding 2 when I want to go to see the status of the request, and I'm adding 3 when I want to see the logs. So once I've got what I want to show, then I know that the first part, so everything that is from the beginning to that last number, is the document ID. So this is where I'm getting it, document ID. I'm just taking the left part of the variable, and then what I'm doing is I'm doing a lookup on the documents data source. The document data source is the document library that I'm working on, and I added as a data source in my PowerApp application, and I'm getting the current document. I'm looking it up by the ID. I know this is another part that there's some delegation issue. It's out of the scope for this session, but there are things that we can do to avoid this delegation issue. We do some lookups. And basically that's it for this part. So when I clicked on the launch approval, read the document ID, I saw that I am in the submit for document approval mode. So I'm showing this part of my application, and then I can enter some text, and I hit the submit button. Now let's see what the submit button, what has been done. So once I clicked my submit button, then select. Basically, what I just have done is I created a new element in the approval request manager SharePoint list with the title, with the document ID that I want to approve, the current approvers, and the status. And basically, once I create a new request, I put the status to submitted, and then I'm setting the status of the document to pending. This is why if we go back files, we see that the status now of the document is pending. Okay. Also, what has been done is that I have this workflow document approval manager that is triggered when an item is created or modified in the approval request manager SharePoint list. Okay, so I created a new item with my submit button, and then my workflow approval manager workflow has been triggered. Basically, I'm getting some properties. I'm getting the properties of the current document that I want to approve, and then I'm just initializing some variable, and then I have this big switch statement that looks on the status of the document. So if you remember, once I submitted the document, I've manually hard-coded it to have the status to submit it. So first time an element is created, the workflow is triggered, and it goes to the case submitted. If it's case submitted, what I'm doing is that I'm updating the item, the document status item to pending. This is why we have this pending status here. Oops, sorry. Then, sorry, it's this one. I'm updating the file properties to pending, but what I'm doing also is I'm updating the current item that has triggered the workflow to pending mode. So I want this workflow to be re-triggered and to go to the case pending. We will see it afterward. Then I'm just doing some logs. I'm creating an element in the approval log SharePoint list with some information that we will see. And yes, I know I'm sending an email. This is just I've been telling you guys that we are creating an environment to keep our user really focused in Teams, and then I'm showing you that I'm sending an email. I know that I'm sending an email. It is just for you guys to be have like the whole picture. Of course, we can send the email through PowerAutomate workflow, but we will see it in the pending state, what we can use in order not to send an email. Okay, so yeah, I sent an email, and we will see it. I have received an email. So thank you for submitting the document for approval. Received information, and what I wanted to show you is that even within an email, okay, we can leverage the deep links. So here I created a link that is actually a deep link to my PowerAutomate application that is in the Teams tab. Okay, I will click on it. Sorry. And everything goes well. Yes. So here you see it opens the corresponding Teams tab, and it's correctly selected the approval request mode. And I can see that I have an approval request that is in pending state. So the deep links, we can leverage the deep links not only from within already Teams, but also from a link in Outlook. Okay, so this really makes it for you guys to really focus on that. Okay, so if we go back to our workflow, we said that. Okay, sorry. We said that we updated the status to the pending state. Okay, just here. So the workflow has been re-triggered. Same thing. Got the file properties. Same thing, same thing, same thing. And then we have this switch on the status. Now the status is pending. Okay. So first, what I'm doing is I'm checking out the file. Why I'm doing that? Because when we do a proper document approval workflow, once we submit a document for approval, we don't want that while our approvers are approving or reviewing the document, we don't want the document to be able to be modified. So there is multiple way of doing it. You could already, I don't know, put the document in a special document library with only read permission for everyone. But you know, it is just a way of doing it. So you can check out the file. So you know that no one can edit the file while reviewing it. I'm adding also a log to the approval starter. So I'm creating an item in the approval logs SharePoint list. Then I'm looping over the approvers. What I've not showed you yet is that the approvers, I defined the approvers in a special SharePoint list called settings within the same SharePoint site. Create this, a SharePoint list called settings. I have this column called approvers. It's a multi-person column, so you can put the name of your different approvers. Of course, this is an example. You could also here from use the Office 365 user connector in order to look up the name of the manager of the person who triggered the workflow, the approval, so on and so forth. It's whatever you feel appropriate. Then I'm leveraging the create approval connector. Okay, so I'm just creating. This is just the create approval. It's not the create and wait approval. So here I'm defining the assigning the approval to the set of approvers. I'm looping here on the different approvers that were defined in the SharePoint list. And for every approver, I'm creating an approval, and then this is what I'm leveraging. I'm leveraging the post your own adaptive card as a flow bot to the user. So I'm posting a message to the approver email, and I'm leveraging the Teams adaptive cards that has been created for me out of the box somehow by the create approval connector. Then I'm just adding a headline or subject approval for and the name of the document. And then I said, wait, sorry, for the approvals, wait for the result of the approval. If you see the different instances of the workflow, we see that I have one workflow that is running, and it's running because it is waiting for the result of this wait approval. If we go to pending, we see that it is, it doesn't show here, but it is, believe me for that, it's here, it's waiting for an approval. Then if we go to, if I come back to Teams, I can see that I received a chat, can click on it, and I see that the flow bot talked to me and say me, and tells me, sorry, that I have a new approval for new document to approve. So this is the name of the document that I want to approve. I have a link to the document. I can click on it, and it opens the document for me. Okay, I can review it, and I have also this link to the request. It's the same link that I received in my email. I can click on it, and it will open the request in the PowerApp application. Just for you to maybe this is a question that will come up in a bit. Whenever I click on those deep links, it's opening a new tab. This is because I'm using the web version in Teams, because I'm logged in a different tenant to be able to share my screen in the for this bootcamp. But if you are using the Team application and you click on the link within the Team application, it will directly open the tab within the Team application without opening the browser or so on, or a new tab in your browser. So here, let's say I want to approve. Yes, create a document, okay, and I submit. Okay, great. I was able to submit my approval. So now, if we go back to the workflow, we see that it has successfully continued. I'm doing some different calculation, taking the variables, adding some approval logs as well, and then what I'm checking is the result of the approval. So if it has been approved, I'm updating the item to the approved state. I'm updating the file properties as to approved, and I'm checking in the file. What I'm doing here is that I'm changing its status to approved. Okay, so what will happen is that same workflow will be triggered. Go to the edit, will be triggered, and it will go to this switch statement, but this time it will go to the approved state. And what I do in the approved state is I am creating a PDF out of this Word document. So I'm leveraging the OneDrive for Business connector to convert this one, convert file using path. So this is what I'm getting an instance of the file. I'm adding it to my OneDrive for Business folder, and then I'm using it to I'm using the convert file to create a PDF out of it. I'm pushing this PDF in the same Teams channel. So here you can also push the PDF in another team channel, in a specific folder, whatever it is. It is your business need at the end, and I update the document to final, to the status final, so I can do some switch statement and not be able to trigger an approval for a file that is already in the final status. Doing some logs, sending an email, and doing a last log called approval ended. So I know that my approval is done. So if we go back to Teams, we see that now I have this new PDF document called new document to approve dash release 6.0, because when I'm creating the document here, when I'm creating the file, I'm adding this dash release and the version number .pdf in the name of the document, and I see that it is in the status final, and the Word document is in the status approved. Now, if I click on the logs link, okay, sorry for that. To see the logs, so to be able to trace a bit what happened. So I know that this is the different status that the approval, let's say, process went through. And we are just about time. We go back to the presentation then. Oh, sorry, demo. And if you have any question, thank you for attending the session. Hope you like it. Hope it was somehow clear enough for you. And yeah, if you have any question, I'm here. I don't know if there is any question, or everything was clear or not. Okay, sorry, Sorry, I don't. Sorry, I don't speak Italian. If Anonymous questa session vengono registrare, can ask me in
Yeah,
French.
Don't worry.
Ok. Okay.
Sì, le sessioni verranno registrate e poi tutto il materiale verrà pubblicato. All the session will be recorded and then published into a YouTube channel, and then I'll share you the links to download the slide, for example. Okay.
Yeah. The question is with approval permission come out. Every person that has access to the list asks for new approval can potentially apply the approval status. You can secure it. This is why we also introduce logs in the approval flow. You know, so if someone comes and just change the status of the document, it won't appear in the log. What some clients, what we have been doing for some clients is that we are putting the status in another SharePoint list, and from the main SharePoint list, we just do a lookup to an item in another SharePoint list, and this other SharePoint list, we restrict the permissions for the edit permission on that SharePoint list. So we have the document that are referencing that the status is referenced in a separate SharePoint list, and we do the permission there and are very more strict. But this is there are many ways, and it really depends on the business process. You know, for some clients, we have like one team, and then the PDF that are produced, we are pushing them in another team that has different permissions, that have a different audience. You know, so it doesn't matter if someone changes the status of the document, because what at the end what the document that counts per se is the PDF that is in these other teams channel, not channel, but another team in Teams. What happens in the case the docs are stored in different teams? Approval needs to be selected. Yeah, to select the different approvers. Basically, it really depends on the need. For example, I put my approvers in the SharePoint list, in a column in SharePoint list. But we can say, for example, we can add a column type, and based on the type of the document, we will look in the SharePoint list and get the corresponding approvers, for example. Or we can, as I was saying, we can use the Office 365 user connector in PowerAutomate and look at who's the manager, for example, for the user who triggered the submission. There are multiple ways. Yeah, and this one I already answered. Yeah, that's it, everyone. Thank you for attending the session. And yeah, as Fabio was saying, the sessions will be available in YouTube. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, and stay tuned, stay online. There are a lot of great sessions that are coming on throughout the day. So and very a big thank you for the organizers. It's never easy to organize such events and with such special conditions. So thank you. A big thank you for you.
Yeah, and that's the same for you. Thank you very much for the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.